Okay. The time is 5:46 and the date is Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024. We have Jada virtually, so I will take a roll call to open the meeting. Jada?
Here.
Keith?
Aye.
I guess Jim is absent. Please note, the meeting is open. Please note, we are doing a hybrid meeting with in-person and virtual attendance. If a member of the virtual public would like to make comments during a public hearing, please use the raise hand function on Zoom and you will be assigned a speaking time. If you are listening in via telephone dial-in, press *9 to raise your hand and then press *6 to unmute yourself. This meeting is being recorded by the local scene and a record of this meeting will be posted on the local scene website as soon as they are able. Anyone intending to make an audio or video recording of this meeting should notify me at this time. Okay, meeting is open. First is updates, trail work, inventory spreadsheet.
So we've had a mock-up of an inventory spreadsheet that we were going to review, kind of as like a reoccurring agenda item, if that's okay with everybody.
Yes.
Have you seen? I have a printout.
Do you have a printout? I'm just gonna pull it up.
I
I'll
can-
take that. Yeah.
I can share the screen too.
Okay.
Well, what I did was, I think I mentioned it last meeting, and just in passing, it kind of occurred to me while we were having a discussion that between the cleanups and tracking the condition of the properties, I thought it'd be good to have an inventory of the properties, some location information, maybe some information about parking or who the land steward is, if we have one for it, problems we have with ATVs damaging the land, or if there's recurring litter problems. I'm just going through some of the headers here. Maybe make a list of major tasks that we've discussed wanting to do, rating the trails, in terms of what we have, what they're like, you know, the sort of train you have at a place like Camp Nikon, where it feels like you could be in New Hampshire, or like Calista Farm, where it feels like you are right where you are, which is, you know, coastal Massachusetts. I've also, I'm looking at whether for our integrated trails plan, whether it's something that walking through and connecting from one trail system to another, if it makes sense. And then at the end, I have, you see, it says OSC member from familiarity. In this case, it's me, but I've got columns kind of hidden for everybody else. I started tracking in terms of the properties, which ones I've been to, how many times offhand have I been to there recently, how much of it I believe I've explored, which I probably, Cranberry Watershed, I could easily adjust that percentage downward if I looked at a map
Right.
and try to figure out where I've been in there, but I've been in there twice, went in from 2 different points, and I think maybe saw an intersection of trails at one point from where I'd been the time before, so it's quite vast. You know, I think in our last meeting, former member Brian Payne said, after hearing us talking about some of the properties, is after hearing the discussion, I feel like I need to get out to see some more properties, and that's where it started to really kind of click for me that this would be good to probably have on the OneDrive for us to make inputs during every meeting, have it as an agenda item. And then anyone could just go in and say, hey, you know, I've got a Saturday, I want to go out and do something, the weather's nice. Where have I not been?
No, that I think that's great. I'm surprised we don't have any of this already, but this is.
And if there's one you haven't been to, you know
Right.
which members potentially have, and you can say, is this a good place for a picnic, or do I need boots to go into this one because it's wet or whatever? Or you could contact someone and maybe get that info
Right.
if it's not already contained on the chart. So
Right.
that's,
Or just pick somewhere that might need some attention. That
Yep.
like, I wasn't thinking about going there, but maybe it's all today.
and it doesn't even have to be town properties. It could be a line for the Bay Circuit Trail, like major sections,
Right.
if we want to think about anything we might be doing with that. Private properties open to the public, like Sylvia Pond and some of the other preserves and stuff around town. So I was thinking that would be helpful, might help the conservation office. It might even be something to try to get some more members of conservation or other volunteers interested if they saw a printout, or if it just got us talking about these things. If we had a list of the land stewards, and then we have a discussion today on the agenda about recruiting members, maybe that would say, we could say, hey, I know so-and-so, they've been on a committee before. They're watching over this particular property, and maybe they're a candidate for a seat here or something. So
Right.
it might be a good reference like that. And I think some of our meetings, since you guys, completed the open space plan, probably on the lighter side. This might help and help with the most important thing it seems like we're doing, which is organizing these work days and volunteering.
Especially now with the budget. Right.
Yeah.
Tried to go on the date farm like 3 times.
That's one, bring your boots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think it's a great idea, and like under major tasks and stuff, do you have any recommendations, like if someone sees something that's not up there, like put their initials next to it, or maybe their name, so that it'd be like, I added this.
I mean, if it's if it's an accessible shared file, we have to be careful of open meeting law. So the question is whether someone like, whether myself as the creator, if there was a committee clerk or chair, certainly the office, if you can delegate access to people so you don't have that happening within the system. But I don't see a real reason why we can't just make the updates verbally here and then
Right.
transfer the notes.
Take the
Yeah.
notes while you're out and about.
Okay.
Discuss it at the meeting and we can.
Yeah, and
update
you can
together.
print out what's on the drive
Right.
without altering it, and then you can, or you just keep a notebook.
Keep notes, right.
Okay,
And if we have an updated copy at each meeting, we can sit around the table and, provide the inputs, like, hey, I think the trails here need work, or over here, Matt will say, hey, we need a wetland restoration at this place, but at another one, we've got to do testing to see if the parking lots we built on over a wetland, like he was saying with the Henrik property.
Mhm.
I mean, accessibility there is an issue right now. So it's one that's, it's on the list here, but it's not one that I'm putting on my list to go there until we have an organized project. So that way I'm following in somebody who knows how to access it without walking between people's houses or
Right.
something like that. So that kind of helps for me. Just look in creating the list and seeing which ones I've been to, which ones I haven't. It's already been helpful for me.
I think it's great. I think in doing it, like you said, during the meeting, and everyone is aware of the update.
And this isn't it can be more data than this too. If there's anything in the open space plan that that we should be tracking through our involvement with these properties, if there's any goals and objectives we need to be trying to reach for, we can be tracking them. So this can almost become like project management too, or at least a reference point for that.
Right, we definitely have, I can't think of them off the top of my head, but goals and objectives for most properties from the open space.
So as a side note, since you brought up the Heinrich property, I know there's a wetland delineation being done now. So should have an update on it soon.
Oh, that's one for the West Street, right?
Yeah.
Good.
And I think for some of the columns, I mean, I don't know how extensive this can be, so obviously I haven't put every property that we'd be tracking here, but fairly standardized inputs for, I mean, some of it's more qualitative, but for some, if you wanted something searchable or something like that, probably wouldn't be good for it to be too random, but it might also be necessary, so I don't know. It's just a start.
Yeah, I think it's great. It would be really nice to have it all in one place.
And maybe we can even at some point say, as the weather's getting to be pretty good, if we can get a fuller extent of the property list, start figuring out where are the gaps on this thing, and then maybe we can have like another column where it's like, okay, whose job is it to do this or that? If no one's been to a certain property, we have to, at least among the voting members, certainly, at least every property should have been visited by at least one or two of us at some point.
Right.
I mean, I know that employees, they're going to them, greater frequency. If there's maintenance and whatnot to do or things to check on, but I'm hoping this kind of helps us get our involvement out there improved a bit.
I will definitely, how would you like me to bring this up to the Concom? Like,
Well, in terms of them, we might want, and I mean, Megan's a member, so maybe she can give a better representation, but I would think we might want to move it along a little bit more, just so that they're not looking at,
okay,
because we've kind of talked about these things. And when I watch their meetings, they're not always talking about like the cleanups and the trails, and they're talking about you know, the wetlands and, you know, the permitting and the enforcement and all that kind of stuff. So whether or not this is ready for their perspective, I don't know that.
I would say I don't know what Conservation Commission has to do with, other than technically there are areas, but I've been on the commission for 3 years. I don't think we've ever done cleanup or maintenance.
Well,
There's been things put in
Buzz-
front of us.
Buzz does go out,
Right.
some of the stuff that was organized, like Camp Nikon he was at. I know he's involved in some of the grading at
Right.
Mulligan's Landing.
Right, but that was brought up from open space or through a bigger project that had to do with Conscom. It wasn't from, like, open space didn't say, hey, let's go redo Mulligan's Landing. Or that was through a grant through Conscom. Same with Camp Nikon, that was brought through Conscom as a cleanup when this all started a couple of years ago. So I would think we could build it up,
And then
or
say,
at
"Here,
least, and then present it to the conservation, say, hey, this is what's going on.
This is a
on the
resource."
properties.
yeah,
If anything is brought to you, bring it to, you know.
or if you know volunteers would be interested in helping with these projects.
This is where we're at, right?
Yeah.
You can see this or ask us or.
But I think right now, if it went to them, it would be like, this isn't complete. There's
They'd be like, okay,
properties that aren't.
let us know how you do.
Yeah.
Keep us updated, right?
I think that's all I've got, unless there's any questions, or if we want to start inputting stuff for as the draft progresses, things that I can input on my copy before we turn it over. Or something more formal.
How many more are there? How many more properties are there?
Well, I looked at the open space brochure and did some stuff off the top of my head that wasn't there. And I know I'm pretty sure there's some other stuff. I mean, like I said, there's some private lands that have trails, not that we would necessarily go in there and start cleaning them up or
Right.
blazing new trails, but
Maybe
yeah. I mean, I spent a lot of time in the Sylvia, I forget what the official name of it is, but the one off Sylvia Place, because it's close to where I live. And my kids love it in there.
I do have, some notes and stuff, but I can bring it up during the next meeting. I'll get it all kind of organized.
Yeah, and I can check some other maps and documents online. But I mean, if you got a copy, take it. If you can think of anything that's missing. If you can think of times when you've been on the properties and seen things that this layout wouldn't capture, that we should probably track. I'd love to include it. It's already helping.
Right. I don't think it's been.
It could be like a column, like you could say, which ones do we not have very good mapping of? How do we organize our efforts to GPS the trails? We could add that as a column. Matt can say, I've got this one done, I've got this one done, part of the way through this one,
Yeah.
and these ones I don't have. So, you know what? I'm gonna write that down.
That's perfect, yeah.
Silver Lake is part of the Bay Circuit Trail. So that's.
So we're like, okay, so then we can potentially say, is it part of the Bay Circuit? Yeah. So I can put a column in for that as well.
The Three River Basin, is that even, what is that?
Is that the one off Grove, I think?
Yeah, but is that even, like, was it walkable, do we know? Or is it just?
So I know there's some conservation property over there that abuts some, a property of some people I know. I think there's an access point, but I don't know where it is. It's not one
Yeah.
that I'm very familiar with.
Neither, I mean, I've driven by it a bunch, but.
I'm very familiar with this one.
Yeah, I think it was so on the open space brochure. So once I saw that, I was like, yeah, I know there's something over there I need to go and see. And I've got on the list. Even color code all the stuff in my column that I have haven't visited yet. Color them all like red or something and challenge myself to turn them all back to unfilled.
Nice.
How do we get anything? Okay, I'll definitely look over this again and think, and I know the land steward one, I can't remember. Yeah. And it should not. I think Frank is Silver Lake. like we just walk them. Next one we have is need for new members. So we lost Brian. We gained him, but we lost him. How many seats do we need? Just one or?
One, maybe two, depending on if Jim's gonna wanna stay on open space, and
Oh, right.
probably will. Matter, I will reach out to see where he stands with that, just because we haven't seen him in a while. So,
Right.
you know,
See what's going on.
yeah, so. I can put something vacant on the, online, but I don't know if. That's something recommendation yet.
Well, I was sort of keeping it hush hush just for the time being in case you or Matt had approached somebody.
Mhm.
Once I saw it on the agenda, I figured that that's not the road we're going. I reached out to two of the selectmen who are involved in the outdoorsy kind of stuff, saying, hey, do you know anybody?
Yeah.
My wife being in the chair, she does the meeting announcements. So you have an audience in the room and people watching on the local scene. So she could mention that there's an opening that needs to be filled. We can ask the moderator at town meeting, word of mouth helps. And then if if that's not proving to be fruitful, potentially attempt some Facebook recruiting on the town message boards. The issue is I tried that for the other committee that I'm on and there were no responses. So sometimes you strike gold,
Right.
sometimes you don't. Absolutely.
There'll be more people on for sure with elections coming up and town meeting coming up and. So maybe we can get a little bit attention.
Yeah, I meant to reach out to Matt about that for the meeting, but I didn't have any word from him on where that stands.
I also wanted to, I was on the open space, open space like town page, and we still have an advertisement for that open forum for the open space.
Okay.
Report. I was actually looking up stuff about land steward stuff. Hey, that's the old public forum.
Change that.
Thank you. We need help. The other action item is scheduling of potential work dates for the fall.
Yeah, so unfortunately, Matt and I both don't have any upcoming availability. In the house right now, I think Matt is under the weather. I think he has some stuff going on too, so. Just want to throw that out there, but he said, he can provide a map that, depending on, if you guys want to go out without us. If you want to blaze trails, there's definitely a need for litter cleanup there.
Now where to near COA?
It's right behind the Okeechobee.
Okay, so it's at the end of Okeechobee?
Yep, where that
Yeah.
gate is.
Is that
Okay,
the access point?
Yep.
But it's the one that abuts the COA property, right? Or is it not?
do you get there
I
from
think that's-
Okeechobee or the COA?
I get there from Okeechobee. I think the one directly abutting COA is the Evergreen parcel.
Yeah,
That's a good
okay.
one to add to.
That one's incorrect. So I
That's-
listed that one as
Yeah,
near the COA.
that's where we put in for the trail grant project was. the
Right, that's what
Evergreen
the
parcels.
senior one, flat walking, and we just got those parcels through town, right?
I
should
believe
try and
so,
read it.
yeah.
The only problem with getting access to the whole property is not gonna be easy on the weekends, starting
I-
because sports just started.
If Matt did mention, like, if anybody has weekday availability, like, we could go out there.
Okay, right,
That's a lot easier for us right now.
right.
I have weekday availability sporadically and weekends a lot, but with kids' sports, it's like,
Well,
well,
that's now.
sometimes I may have to be at a game or a practice, but sometimes my wife will go, sometimes we'll all be available and some extra hands to pull bags out of
Right, well, that's
someplace, you know?
There is a key to that gate too, and you can drive down that area and park right out there. Which if you are hauling bags, which I've done before my lunch break, it's easier to have the car than haul them all the way out to the Opachinski.
Mm.
Maybe a site visit would be good just before, if no one's ever been there before.
Get the lay of the land.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I've never been back there.
maybe you could do that during a weekday or something. Actually, that works okay for you.
If you
guys.
wanna, if we could send an email and figure out my work, same, probably are just sporadic, different days, but some days I'm available after one, some days I'm available before one. So it kind of just depends on the day,
Okay,
yeah, but if you
Alright.
wanna send an email with your guys' availability and
Okay.
yours, and we can. Or if I know it's over there. then
Yeah, I
we
mean,
can walk in.
if you're gonna go from the office during work time over there,
it's very.
it's
close.
your availability that's primary. It's just
Right.
up to us to figure out if we can join you.
Right,
Okay,
Cause
cause I think during the week would be much easier.
I don't wanna say, hey, I'm always available on a Wednesday afternoon, you're like preparing for Concom, you know?
Right, like, oh, we're busy on Wednesday.
But you're
Right.
usually here late on Tuesday nights, so if you're
Yeah.
not having a lot else going on
That'd
and
be
you're
good,
looking
yeah.
at when sunset is versus when you wanna quit in the office, we can
Right.
go do that walk.
that'd be good, yeah. Good. It's a really nice property, I like
The train
Um,
fails, so.
it.
That's me up when we're at soccer games, like, we got the train. Just right there.
And I don't think you have, yeah, you don't have to jump the fence. I think there's a little like walking area, but it's just easier to have the key to drive down
Well,
there.
right,
What's your availability like, Jada?
I don't work Mondays and Wednesdays, but this month I'm doing a lot of coverage for one of my teachers
Okay,
on like Wednesdays and Mondays.
We'll
But
see.
I'm also gone during April vacation. So
okay. All right, I'll send out an email and very least do a site visit and then get the lay of the land and then
Right,
maybe
see what we
get it going
need,
from there.
right,
And you said there's what, about 10 more bags worth of tarp material to pull out?
I think so. It's been a couple months since I've been back there, but I was going back there in my lunch, but like I said, not having, like, I didn't drive back there in my car and hauling those bags.
Is that material, does it look like it was dumped there a long time ago? Does it look like it's recent, in which case it could be potentially ongoing?
I think it's been a while. I think it's been a couple years out there and it's actually starting to degrade, like the sooner it comes out, the better, because it's.
Gonna be
coming in
harder
small
if we let it-
pieces,
yeah.
yeah,
That's what kind of one of the things with this is, you know, tracking where the littering is constantly recurring.
Mhm.
right, right.
Because that might be where we need to put more attention into, you know, reduction efforts.
Okay, stick with it. It's over there. The next is open forum, which I don't have anything for at the moment. My little note was for the webpage. That was all I. Jay, did you have anything for open forum?
nope, I'm good.
Keith, anything?
Nope.
Do we have minutes or do we have to wait?
I'll get them both sets on the next one.
Because that's, I don't see any.
Yeah, there's two outstanding ones. I just gotta. add the
Oh.
next one.
That's it, right? I really do like this. I think this is gonna be great.
Thank you,
Especially long term and helping keep track of. There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of properties and you guys do a lot
There's a lot. I
with
know.
permits and everything outside of that and then even getting. So it'll be helpful even, like you said, if I'm like, oh, what are we doing this Saturday? I get a couple hours. Where haven't I been? Let me go, you know, bring a trash bag and.
More of what you do in this committee is ultimately ought to be outside of a
Right,
meeting room.
right,
So what do you do when you're in the meeting room? You have to be here to do the discussions for the public.
right.
So if what we're gathering as individuals can be worked out in this room, it makes these meetings more valuable.
Right. No. Have we gotten any feedback other than like planning and Conscom for the report? Alright, well then I will do closing remarks. The next meeting will be held Tuesday, May 7th. Tuesday, May 7th, 2024, starting at 5:45 p.m. The time is now 6:11, and I will take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
I will second it.
I'll take a roll call. Jada,
Yes.
Keith,
Keith, aye.
Megan, aye. The motion passes. The meeting is closed. All right, thanks, Jada.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You as well. Bye-bye.
So who is running,
Sorry.
who is running for selectmen?
My wife, Kim,
Yep,
Sheila Vaughn, they're both running for election.
okay.